This week we're discussing the qualitative research design and data collection approaches. So when we talk about qualitative research, we're talking about exploratory research rather than research that measures the effect of something on something else. So quantitative methods, if you gather the data randomly, can be generalized to a larger audience or population. Qualitative allows you to understand more complex and deeper elements. It's the we call it the color and texture of research, but it helps you understand how people view. They get to tell stories. They get to explain how they feel, what their perceptions are. And it is often a follow-on to quantitative. After you understand that 42% don't like something, you certainly want to go into qualitative to understand what elements of it are not likable. What is it is not working for them, for example. So the differences between qualitative and quantitative are outlined here. I won't read through them, but know that qualitative is not projectable. That means that you might do a focus group of 6, 8, or 10 persons. They don't have to be representative of gender or gender identity or age or ethnic background or users versus non-users or any of that. You might do 10 users of cable. And you might do 8 users of a particular cleaning product. And they would come from different backgrounds, or maybe they're all housekeepers, or maybe they're all stay-at-homes, right? And that's it. That's all that matters. So it's about what they do, not who they are, because you're not going to say, if 5 of them say they like a product, you're not going to say, so half of people like a product. You can't say that with qualitative because you can't generalize or project because it was not gathered. The data were not gathered in a random fashion. You did not recruit these people in a random fashion to participate in your qualitative study. They were available. They were selected using what we call purposive sampling. That means we knew who we wanted to talk to. So we found 10 people who profiled like that. Maybe they're housekeepers who use a certain cleaning product and have at least 3 days where they're cleaning other people's houses a week. That could be it, right? Very small. When somebody does qualitative and they say, we're going to do 100 of them, you need to back up, say maybe 12 to 15 at the most. It is important to remove your own personal bias if you're going to be doing these yourself so that you are not validating what your respondent is saying, and you are not inserting your own biases. Yes, that's true. I've seen that also. You don't want to tell someone that because then now they know what you're looking for and they're going to try and be as helpful as possible by responding to your prompts and probes. You have to be very careful to remain completely neutral. So with quantitative research, you use formal questions and predetermined response options. So the question might be, how likely are you to do the following things in the next week? And the answers might be very likely, somewhat unlikely, and very unlikely. So the respondent's not going to say, well, it really depends on. They're just going to answer the question. So with qualitative, you're going to ask them to talk about the last time they used something. How did they go about purchasing it or making the decision to purchase, so that you want to go through the process? Or if they were to construct the ideal coffee house, how would they structure that? What does it look like from the outside? When you walk in, what do you see? What do you smell? How do you feel? What word would you use to characterize what you're seeing? So that's what you do in qualitative, and that's the small sample size, but it's very rich in themes and in the information shared. Again, the color and texture of the information shared. Now, there are challenges with qualitative research, and of course, one is that you cannot project it to a larger population. You cannot determine how, if you're looking at, let's say, coffee house design, You don't know how huge that is. So is that like a huge problem at all coffee houses all around the world, all around the country, all around the state? Or is this just something that we're doing locally, right? In terms of reliability, because it's not projectable or generalizable, it's not as reliable yet. It's really important to have this because if you make decisions based on a percentage on scores and you don't understand what's behind those scores or percentages, you are doomed to increase the risk of not being successful at whatever it is you're attempting to market or develop or produce as a company owner or your client's company. There are a couple of ways that are typically used. One is using in-depth interviews, or what we call IDIs. And this is where you interview someone usually between 20 and 60 minutes, depending on what the topic is. So you do find and select and screen the respondents, and then you protect their identity. You treat them with great respect. And you can interview them these days. It's often on Zoom. So they can actually use your calendar to schedule a time. You put out the part of the calendar you want to make available, and they can actually schedule a time. There are recruiters who will recruit people for you. Userinterviews.com and respondent.io are both low-cost recruiters who are able to secure the right people based on what you say you want to interview. But it's up to you or the interviewer to be very unbiased as you ask questions. Plus, you have to understand how to ask a question, and when the respondent replies, then you follow on with that question. Sort of like having a conversation at night with your friends, right? They say, oh, I went somewhere and I had a great time. You don't just leave it. You say, oh, tell me all about it, right? What happened? What did you do? Did you see, you met them? Oh my gosh, you met Tim Tebow? What was he like? What did he say? What did y'all talk about? Who else was there? You keep using the information they're giving you to develop and expand on your initial question. This is where you get rich and robust insights, right? You can also do focus groups, which are roundtables, and you can also do those on Zoom, but you can also do these conveniently, like at a cafe or a Starbucks or cafeteria or on the Commons, for example. It's really up to you. Bring them together and just have a casual discussion and record it. I wouldn't suggest using notes because it's very hard to listen to people talk and take notes and be aware of what they said so that you can circle back and say, so tell me more. Add to what you were talking about. I'd like to know more about, you said that this happened. So can you tell me a little more about how that came to be, right? You also need to make sure that one person does not control the entire focus group. That's always the big fear. Moderators are responsible for saying, thank you, Joe. I think we're real clear on your thoughts on that. How about you, Cheryl? I haven't heard much from you. What are your thoughts on this? And it's usually the quiet people who have the best information. So it's really up to you to do that. Now, once you have finished collecting your data, you probably have machine language transcript, or you get someone to transcribe it, or you listen to it and then take notes on your recording, and you look for themes. You look for what's coming up a lot. What are the threads of discussion that are coming up frequently? And that's what you're going to report. So it may not even be a topic that you were going to ask about, yet a problem with parking, or the product arriving damaged, or like in B2B, sometimes businesses get the invoice before they get the service or product. That's never cool, but it happens. Those are the kinds of things that come up in these interviews, and they allow you to dig a little deeper. So can you give me an example? Tell me what happened. I'd like to know more about that. That is very interesting. Thank you. Is there anything else you would suggest on how to address this issue or do something differently? What were your expectations? So it's up to you to understand and then develop the themes. So there's themes. What you do is you code the data. So you may have, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 codes, and you probably coded in another course. But when you code data, so people, let's say the coffee house example, people talk about the aroma a lot. And they talk about how they want it to be not bitter and to be really rich flavor wise. They want to view their coffee sometimes as a dessert. They want, their whipped cream and all on top of it. They want cafe items to go with it. They want a place that has great Wi-Fi, cool music, not too loud, and there's always a place to sit. And it's sort of like a third place where you can do some of your work there. It's not home, it's not the office, it's not school. It's a third place, right? So you get all these codes, but then you can start putting them together into categories. That's what we call data reduction. So once you get those codes together, some of them will come together. So some of them might be environmental, music, Wi-Fi. Well, let's take Wi-Fi out. Music, seating, tables. Some might be about the coffee product, right? Flavor. Environment would still include aroma, right? But so would the product itself. Options, cafe. That would be another category. And a third category might be I don't know, the way the baristas and the other people who work there treat people. They always greet you, they say hello, they welcome you when you walk in, they act like they know you. If you've ever had a Starbucks account, then you've gotten surveys along these lines. So those might end up being the three categories once you reduce your codes into the categorization. And then from there, you determine your theme. So what do we really need to focus on? What seem to be the problems, the issues, the opportunities? So favorable and unfavorable. And then so this is a great example. So these are categories. So there were probably a lot of commentary about, I have to learn the internet. I don't know how to use the internet. This is for seniors, right? I know you can take classes where they tell you how to use the internet, how to search for stuff. So they categorized all those coded answers as classes to learn the internet. That's all you do. And you just break them down. So this is even more categorization. So basically they broke it down into 4 characteristics, right? 4 categories, big categories. Curiosity, I want to know more about technology. I'm favorable about it. I like the idea of it. I just don't know how to do it. All right, so you get it, right? I want to keep up with my grandkiddies. That's what all that is about, cultural currency. All right. And then finally, you draw conclusions and understand what you have to do next. And that's when you either decide to do quantitative, or maybe you've already done quantitative and you want to go into your next step, which is designing a strategic marketing plan that will reach the segment and touch on the things that are important to your target segment. So I hope that is helpful.